Hi everyone, this is Dr. Sandeep Kumar going to discuss about operations management in this session. Operations management is the core concept that is dealing with all industries, irrespective of production industries as well as service industries, irrespective of the type of the industry. That is why it is called operations management, because there are various operations involved in organizations. Whatever the organization we take for that matter, there are operations. For example, suppose if you go to a courier office, there are operations. Some persons are receiving the covers or posts and it is transferred through logistics to some means, either by road or by some other means like ship, and it is sent to the respective persons. Okay. Otherwise, you take some other industries. For example, some manufacturing industries you can take for example. Let me take about a foundry. A foundry is a process where the metal is um, melt and it is converted into a product what we in the shape what we want. So there are operations. Some factories you can take, some food industries or chocolate factories or cement industry, whatever the factories or industries or even a small organization, even if you take a restaurant, a small restaurant, where people are coming for food and it is prepared. So there are materials used for that. There are utensils used for that. You have to plan how much materials or ingredients are required for that, for preparing the food, and how many employees are required for these operations, and how many people are required to keep them served, and how much is the seating capacity of the restaurant. All these things you have to plan. So irrespective of the type of the industry, either it is a production oriented or it is service oriented, there are a number of operations, and being a manager you have to manage all such operations. That's why operations management is important for an MBA student. Let me focus on the definition. Operations management is defined as the set of activities that creates goods and services by transforming inputs into outputs. Of course, in case of any transformation process or any business, it has three phases or three stages. What are the three stages? Input and process and as well as output. So what you are getting something as input to get a required output. So these input materials as well as all other resources, by using these things it is processed, and then finally you get the thing what you want as output. So any company you take, it is having three stages: input, process and output, and managing activities in all these three stages are called as operations management. So actually what we are doing, we are planning the operations, we are organizing the resources, we are focusing on the effective utilization of resources through which you can improve the productivity. This is the core concept of operations management. So let me focus on this transformation process further. Of course, as we discussed earlier, there are three stages, main stages: input, process and output. Of course, there are additional things. To do this process, you need storage spaces, and you need this process has to be controlled. How it can be controlled? Through the feedback systems. So this entire thing is called a system. This particular concept can be applied to any industries or companies or any enterprises or organizations, because there is a transformation. So the transformation requires input, and through the inputs the process will be taken place, and it will give the required output. As an example, you are all students. Let me consider an education industry or a institute, educational institute for that matter. Students are coming in, so they are inputs, and we are using all the resources like classrooms, benches, other materials to make the teaching learning process perfect. All these things can be inputs. Of course, teachers are also inputs. So we using all these inputs, a perfect plan is made with a schedule like first semester, second semester, 6 semesters are there, or 4 semesters are there. You have to study all these things. Such planning process, through this planning process, we are converting you as a person who has received a degree holder. So this is the required output. So in between this process, that's why I'm telling you this process is applied to all kind of enterprises. So what is our focus here as an operations manager? As an operations manager, you have to focus on how effectively you can manage the various activities. Of course, if you concentrate on managing, then again you have to focus on the various basic functions of management. What are the basic functions of management? Planning, organizing, staffing, directing, all these things you have to do when you concentrate on this transformation process in any industries. Let me consider what are the various operations involved in that, because you have to, as I told you, managing various operations. So you have to understand what are the various operations involved in general, whether either it is a whatever the type of company, the some operations are common. For example, in some industries you may procure raw materials. Most of the manufacturing industries you may procure raw materials. This is common. Again, for example, whatever the type of industry, you have to plan for employees requirement, as well as materials requirement, as well as the salaries, or how much the salary you are going to give to them. All these things you have to plan. So this is a repetition work. Of course, many operations are common to all kind of industries. So then now we are going to focus on what are the various operations. Then I will tell you how operations management will add values to here. So we will focus on this later. First, I will yes, we will discuss now the various operations involved in operations management, which is merely common to all kind of companies. First of all, let me start with the location. So first you have to fix a location where we are going to operate our business. Either it is a service oriented industry or manufacturing oriented industries, you have to fix the place. But this location fixing depends on the type of the business that you are getting to that. Suppose you are going for a service industry, you need more traffic, where people are moving in a frequent manner. So that the location planning will be different. Suppose if you are going for manufacturing industry, to start up for a manufacturing industry, then you have to focus on the subsidies or taxing system or land cost like that. So whatever it is, all these things we will discuss in detail in due course. Just this session, I am just going to introduce about various operations involved in operations management. So first of all, you have to fix a location. Then after fixing the location, you have to go for layout. What do you mean by layout? Of course, you have fixed a site or place where you are going to operate your unit, either production or service. And the next thing is where you, in that particular site or in that particular plant, where you will keep your machineries, how the machinery should be arranged, or how the equipment should be arranged. This is what we mean as layouts, and where you can keep other materials, where you have to keep your stores room, where you have to keep your production process, and where you have to keep the finished products, what kind of tools, as well as what kind of transport tool methods you are going to use from one place to other pace. All these things you have to decide. All these things together called plant layout and material planning. as well as material handling will focus in this second stage. And next stage, this is of course not a continuous stages. There are various operations simultaneously taken place. So initially you have to decide the product design, what product you are going to offer to your customers. Suppose if it is a manufacturing industry, it's a product design, or if it is a service industry, it is your service design. So it depends on the various availability of your financial resources as well as human resources and other resources, and you have to design the product according to your capability as well as the customer requirements. So this is the one more operation that operations managers are dealing. And then once the product is designed, you are fixing with the specifications and the product design as or a service design, then you have to focus more on the process. What are the different methods you are going to do, or what is the activities that you are going to do for the transformation of the required service or required product. So you have to focus more on the process. What are the machineries you are going to use this, and what technology you are going to use in the process. What kind of people are required, skilled people, what kind of human resources are required, whether they are available, or the sequence of various activities and placement of the layout of various activities, all these things to be designed. So this is what we mean as process design. Let me focus on the next thing, production planning and control. Once you are very clear about your product as well as you are very clear about your process, and then you have to focus more on the schedule, when you are going to start, how much time is required, what activities can be done simultaneously so that we can minimize the total production time or service time, and where the controlling points to be fixed, and when you are going to measure, what are the parameters you are focusing to measure the quality of the process as well as the finished product. All these things you have to design and decide. This is the stage, or this is the concept called production planning and control. So you have to do these things. And of course, you have to ensure the quality of your process as well as product. Whatever you do in your operations, you have to ensure the quality. That management, quality management is very much essential in operations management. So we are nowadays focusing more on the different stages of quality improvements or continuous improvement and sustainable growth. All these things we'll discuss in due course. Our primary focus is more on the various operations. So quality control is another operation everyone should focus as an operations manager. And the other one is your maintenance and materials management. Materials and maintenance management, focusing more on your raw materials as well as storekeeping and inventory control, how much stock you can maintain, and how much, where you can purchase the materials. All these things will be discussed in this maintenance management. Before we move on to that, you have to understand again whatever the concepts we are discussing here, it is common to both production as well as service industries. Because in service industries also we are having certain equipments. For example, in a teaching learning process, we are using laptops, we are using projectors. There are many materials, of course, used. So it is irrespective of production and service, you have to plan materials required for the process. That is why we call it as a materials requirement planning. And of course, there is another MRP called manufacturing resource planning. All these things are available, or you have to do. All these things nowadays you can do with the help of ERP softwares, that is enterprise resource planning softwares. Whatever the various operations we mentioned here can be done with the help of softwares. So you have to be very familiar with those softwares also to be in line and to be trendy. Okay. So once again, I just focus on